It's January 31st, and welcome to winter storm coverage across the Carolinas. I'm SCETV meteorologist Andrew Wulfeck here at the Weather Center as we continue to monitor the snow, which has moved across nearly the entire state right now. So let's go to the weather graphics so you can get a better sense of what's going on. There you go. Here's the radar picture. Heavy snow falling over Greenville, getting into Columbia. We'll zoom on in so you can get a better sense of what's going on. I-26, at least the northern part, north of Columbia, all snow stock right now. Rock Hill has seen their decent fair share of snow. It's even made its way into Augusta. And it will soon work its way all the way to the coast. We are starting to get a few snow flurries along I-95. And eventually it'll work into Myrtle Beach and Charleston and points southward. Now, I do have a word of caution for those folks in the low country. There is a bit of warmer air towards Savannah and the Hilton Head region, so it wouldn't surprise me if we get a bit of an icy mix. Hilton Head up to the Charleston area. It's a little bit warmer than what the forecast models originally indicated, which is no surprise because obviously you have the Atlantic and you have a stream of moisture coming in from the south. So watch for a little bit of ice and then some snow across the extreme southern parts of the low country. That will cut down on your snowfall totals, by the way. Still expecting at least a ground cover down there. And then further north, the area that potentially could see the most is your Florence to Myrtle Beach area. I'll highlight that on the radar map here so you can get a better sense of where I'm watching. This area right in here. And it's because we're going to be dealing with two different air masses. We're dealing with the Arctic air mass with the moisture coming in from the northwest. We are dealing with the storm system that you can kind of see off the radar that's developing offshore. And we will watch the precipitation kind of funnel in and train over some of the same areas. So if you're still east of Rock Hill or southeast of Rock Hill and northwestern Myrtle Beach, your time period is still coming. I know you're wondering where the snow is. It's still on the way. In fact, I'll put this into motion here to give you a better sense of what's going on. And as you see, it's generally moving from northwest to southeast. Greenville and areas around Greenville have recorded about 3 inches of snow so far. The totals haven't been that significant in South Carolina. They have been in neighboring North Carolina, by the way. I've seen 8, 9, and even possibly as much as 10 inches towards the Asheville region. And I want you to take a look at this. While we are on radar, the snowfall has actually made it all the way south into the Florida Panhandle. Now, you would usually say it's not your average year when there's snow in Florida, but they saw Florida earlier this year in January. They saw record amounts last year, so they're kind of used to it down in the Sunshine State. And this snowstorm extends all the way up through the mid-Atlantic. And occasionally we are getting a few snow flurries or just about on the coast of the Jersey Shore. And we're expecting some accumulations around the Boston metro area. So areas from New England along I-95 all the way down the coast through the mid-Atlantic and back here at home will have accumulating snowfall. So let's take a look and let's see exactly what's going on in terms of the totals for snowfall. Now, I do have to warn you that that Florence number is looking pretty difficult to get. 12 to 18, that'll be your max. And if, in fact, I think many of these numbers that you see, it'll be on the lower end in Greenville, in Rock Hill, in Columbia, in the Low Country. The only areas that potentially could get these numbers are in the Myrtle Beach area and along I-95 north of I-26. So that stretch of the PD looks like you could be in store for some heavier snowfall accumulations. I'm having a hard time believing the 12 to 18 that the forecast model shows. It's still possible, but I wouldn't put all your eggs in a basket there in the Florence area. So we'll take a look and remember that it will end from west to east across the state. So we're looking ahead to 7 o'clock this evening, which is, about 7 hours away. Greenville already will be dealing with probably mostly cloudy skies, but most of the snow showers have moved off to the east. So in Greenville, you only have 7 more hours worth of accumulation. So we'll see if you can rack up your numbers. Rock Hill still has some time, and we'll put this into motion so we can see exactly what time Rock Hill will be getting out of the snowfall. Looks to be around midnight in Rock Hill. The same for Columbia. And then the questions become, how much does the PD get? Florence, Myrtle Beach, the Grand Strand. Because if you watch the timestamp, we're still Sunday 4:30, Sunday 5:30, Sunday 6:30. Then by about sunrise, that's when all of the snow that's across the PD and the Grand Strand moves offshore into what's going to become this bomb cyclone. It's just another name for a powerful winter storm where its millibar is dropping at least 24 for every 24 hours. So it'll be the strength of a Category 2 hurricane. Now, fortunately, there aren't any land masses, in front of the storm system, because it would be quite the wallop with hurricane force wind gusts off the coast. And I want to take you to a picture nationally to see who's getting all this snowfall, in case you have travel plans. I would put the winner of this snowfall being the Tar Heel State right now, and they'll likely win out with the highest snowfall totals, followed by South Carolina. And then it'll be a question of exactly who comes in third place, whether that's Tennessee, Georgia, or the Boston, Massachusetts area. We have some time to watch that. But again, the target area is north of Interstate 26 in South Carolina, all the way to Interstate 40 across the Tar Heel State. So between those two highways, that is the target zone for the heaviest snowfall. A lot of people question, why do we concentrate on the highways? Well, that's because it's an easy demarcation line for meteorologists and geographers to give viewers at home a precise location of where something stops and ends. If you've ever noticed a map, you have I-10 that runs east to west from Jacksonville to San Diego, and then you have I-20, which goes from Florence to Dallas, and then further north you have I-40, which starts in North Carolina, goes through Tennessee, and then all the way to the southwest. And running north and south, you have I-95, of course, on the east coast. A little bit further west, you have I-75, which runs from Florida to Michigan. So it just gives people a better sense of what's going on. And certainly in South Carolina, it makes sense because your coastal climate zone, that's east of I-95. That's where the Atlantic has a great influence on the weather patterns. Well, where if you go west of I-95 towards Interstate 20, Greenville, etc., you're doing more with the continental air that comes off the mountains. And so you really have the clash of different air masses that happens across the state. And this time, though, it looks like the continental air, obviously, is winning out. And that's why temperatures are going to be plummeting tonight. If you haven't already felt it, get ready for this. 9 degrees in Greenville, 9 degrees in Rock Hill, 12 in Columbia, 18 in Charleston. Now, these numbers keep on changing a degree or two, so if you joined me earlier today, you notice that some locations might be warmer, some locations might be colder. That's normal for a model to do. And because it's so complicated, because you actually have to take into account the snowfall that's on the ground. But anyway, so these are actual temperatures. Now, when you do the wind gusts in combination with the temperatures, this is what it will feel like on the skin. These haven't changed too much. Rock Hill, -1 by tomorrow morning sunrise. Columbia, -1. Sumter, -2. Greenville, 10. Charleston, 4. Charleston has come down a bit, so the forecast model is thinking that Charleston will have windier conditions, and therefore it'll feel as dangerous as it looks. So by the way, it's going to be one of those nights for the 7 Ps, I call them. The people, the pets, the plants, the pipes. Make sure to practice fire safety and well, it's probably too late for this one, is for vehicle precautions, vehicle maintenance, because this will certainly knock the air out of your tires. I don't know if you noticed that, when we transition to fall to winter, that's usually one of the first signs is the low tire light gets on. Well, this will only enhance that. So if you park your car outside, get ready for your tire light to be on come the upcoming work week. Rob, any questions that we have coming in so far?
Yeah, Hunter is in Columbia and asking a couple of questions. Says that the snow is coming down, but it's not sticking. It's not very heavy at this point, and he has a couple of questions. What does it look like going forward in Columbia as far as like the snowfall amounts in your estimation, and why is the snow that is falling so small? It's not fluffy.
It's not fluffy.
It's not fluffy.
Interesting. Well, the atmosphere, it's a different atmosphere than what we're usually dealing with. We're usually dealing with an atmosphere that is, out of the south. It's that wet snow. It's that heavy snow. This is what they get in ski country, if you will. And that's why I think some of the computer models might be having some problems in estimating the snowfall and estimating where it's accumulating. I do have road conditions now on you. This model in particular is showing where it's slick, where it's snowy, and where it's downright treacherous. And we'll take a look at cameras to verify this in just a second. But you'll notice in Columbia, it's green right now, and that indicates that it's just wet out there. The snowfall is melting because the ground temperature is rather warm or whatnot. Where it's colder, where Rock Hill is and Greenville is, there is the snow, and you'll notice it's even that dark blue that indicates some very treacherous travel conditions across the upstate. So for Columbia, again, the forecast is for 4 to 8 officially from the computer model. I would definitely plan on that being on that lower end of the scale, just simply because some dry air is likely working in, which is reducing some snowfall totals. And we'll take a look at the satellite just to make sure and put this into motion so you can get a sense of where we have been and where we're going. So you notice the vibrant blue colors are over the state of South Carolina. They're working to the south and to the east. So the heaviest snowfall right now, rate-wise, is over the state. So areas just to the west of Columbia seeing the heavy snow. So if you are in Columbia, I would prepare for the heavy snow to arrive at any moment. You see it right here. I'll circle it on the radar map. These dark blue colors over Greenwood or whatnot, that is some very heavy snow. And that's all working to the south and to the east. So for Columbia, it's on the way. So just hang around a few minutes and you'll see it.
Yes, it will be there, and we'll keep you posted, of course. And I wanted to mention too that not only are we going to be back later this afternoon to update you on the latest as more of the snow moves across, but we do have that SCETV News YouTube constant weather loop that it will allow you to follow along throughout the day. So don't forget about that.
And here are the official observations across the region. You'll notice, I'll zoom on out so you can get a better sense. They're stretching from the Tennessee Valley through the mid-Atlantic, and you'll see these different colored dots. Some dots are in the yellow, some dots are in the orange. The orange dots are the heavier snow, and those happen to be over the Carolinas. We got a bunch of 9-inch totals from Gatlinburg to Maggie Valley to Greenville. Now, the heaviest snowfall I could find in South Carolina is about this 3.8, I believe. There is a 6 close by, Columbus, North Carolina. That's right across the border from South Carolina. That is the heaviest nearby location. That's a 6-inch snowfall total there so far. It's still snowing there. But again, snowfall that we've seen around the state ranges from about 1, I'll even call it 4 inches now. There might be there is a 4.8 on the other side of South Carolina in northeast Georgia. So it's on the way, but in general, 1 to as much as 4 inches has fallen across the upstate, and it will continue to slide eastward. Now, for verification for that, I'm going to go to our camera system, the DOT camera system across North Carolina, and we'll do a check of the entire state here. We'll start in the north where the heavier snowfall totals are, and boy, oh boy, look at that. That is what you're talking about.
It's changed a lot in the last few hours.
Yeah. If you remember when you first joined you earlier this morning, you could see, I believe it was 3 lanes going each direction, and now clearly just one. And everyone seems to be minding their own business, giving plenty of distance between them and the car in front of them.
That's good.
But it's going to continue for, let's say, 5-6 hours at this particular camera site. So we'll check it again during our next hit later on this evening, and we'll see exactly what it looks like. I want to take a tour of the entire state to give you a sense of what's going on. Let's go in the western part of the state, because remember, we were also seeing some 3 to 4 inch just across the border in Georgia. And here you actually see the pavement. Now, it's hard to say whether that's because of treatment, whether or not the previous highway was treated better than this. Certainly, this is a main thoroughfare, I-85, that runs, across Greenville from the Tar Heel State down to the Peach State. So they have been heavily treating this road, obviously. You can tell because on the sides of the roadway, it's completely covered, the grass, the medians, etc. But then your roadways are clear, and you see all 3 lanes. So this is a good camera to check out, the Interstate I-85 at exit 19. That's just outside of Clemson, I believe. And then we will go a little bit further south, and I want to check in on Columbia because we've had a lot of questions from Columbia. We'll check out downtown Columbia to see exactly what's going on. And yeah, the callers, the viewers were right. Look at that. It's having a hard time accumulating so far. It's snowing heavily. You're seeing these snowflakes on the screen right now. But you still see grass. The medians are still visible. Streets are in relatively good shape, they look like. Now, keep in mind, they're still going to be slick. They're going to be slick for everyone, no matter if you're in Charleston, Columbia, or in the upstate. But everyone seems to be A-OK in Columbia right now. But the heavy snow is just now starting to arrive in the capital city. And I want to take a look just further east because I know we have a lot of viewers down towards the coast, towards the Charleston area. I'm not expecting any of these cameras to show precipitation right now because it really hasn't made it there. And yes, our observations are true. Not even a drop in the sky. You do notice the clouds are darkening in the distance, but snowfall has not made it to the coast yet.
But we'll be there at some point.
It will be there. Everyone will be there. Yeah. We're expecting at least a ground covering for the entire Palmetto State. So that includes Hilton Head, Charleston, further north. Now, I am concerned about some dry air and some warmer air down towards the low country. That will help to inhibit some of those higher snowfall totals. So it's not going to be your complete winter wonderland down towards the south. But let's say you are from Columbia northwestward, it's going to be a winter wonderland for sure.
And we had a question about this on our last live event, but it's worth asking again. How long would you expect, especially for the areas that do get the 2 to 6 inches, how long would it hang around? Will it be hazardous to travel on Monday?
So the answer is yes, it will be hazardous to travel on Monday, and that's because it's not going to melt much. Because look at these overnight feels-like temperatures. We're talking about wind chills around -1.
Yeah.
That's dangerous. And a lot of people ask, by the way, pipes. Do I need to worry about the pipes? Yes, tonight is one of those pipe nights. The next couple nights are one of those pipe nights. If you have a house that's not well built, not newer, you're going to want to drip the faucet. Make sure the faucet is close to an outdoor wall. That helps the process. And you only need a trickle, less than a pencil width. But make sure to do that if you've had problems before, especially with freezing pipes. Because it will be one of those nights where I think some people, especially across the upstate and the Midlands, will see their pipes bursting because it's just so cold. We are talking about record cold air temperatures. And we were just looking at this, record cold air temperatures all the way south as far as Key West. Key West is only getting into the low 50s. So, when Key West is in the 50s, it's colder much further north. So, yes, so the snow will be around for a couple of days. Now, we will see some moderation as we head towards midweek with high temperatures finally getting back into the 40s. I say finally, but even 40s is below average, but that will help to melt the snow. But what I'm concerned about is this black ice. I think black ice is going to be common throughout the work week. So I expect school delays in the morning. I expect churches to be delayed in the morning just because of the ice thread out there.
We did get a question. Angie asked about wind, and it seems like the wind is gusting.
Did she say where she is?
It looks like the comment actually disappeared, and I don't know if it's because I can't see it or not. But
Oh, no worries. Okay, so here we got wind gusts up right now. And this is actually coming in as forecast. We're seeing the winds try to wrap around the area of low pressure that's offshore, but 20 to 30 miles an hour for the next several hours. I'll put this into motion. So you see 26 around 7:30 towards Greenville, and then we also have significant wind gusts north of I-26 towards Saturday evening. Tonight, north of Charleston, between Charleston and Myrtle Beach, and this will continue through the overnight. Notice, usually during the overnight hours, we usually drop calm. Not tonight. We're in the 5, 10, 15, even 20 mile an hour wind gusts. And that will create one blowing snow because remember, we are dealing with that light and fluffy snow. So that will be, piling up in certain areas where there are wind gusts. And then it will also help to knock down those temperatures drastically, causing those dangerous wind chill values.
okay, I do see the comment now. It's back. Mullins, South Carolina,
Oh boy.
and that is near Florence.
Near Florence, South Carolina. So that could actually be one of the heavier spots in terms of snowfall. So overnight, I would expect some blowing snow. It might remind you of a blizzard. I don't think we'll be able to reach blizzard category officially. For that, you have to have wind gusts of at least 35 miles an hour for several hours, and you have to have visibilities below a certain threshold, usually below a quarter of a mile. And so it'll be close. It'll be hazardous out there. You're not advised to go out and about, but I think we will miss that official blizzard criteria in South Carolina. However, just north of the border, you go along I-95, around the Wilmington area for sure, and southwest of Cape Hatteras and southeast of Raleigh. It's going to get close to official blizzard status because simply we have this snowfall that's going to be blowing around with these winds 20 to 30 miles an hour.
Well, that is going to be something to see, no doubt. We did have also a question that we didn't quite have time to get to in our previous live event, and it was a question about how things are looking going forward. What does the kind of the pattern we're in February look like? We've had 2 winter weather situations pretty close back to back. Is that something that could continue?
Absolutely. I believe it was Hunter who said that earlier, who asked about that. So I do have a couple of graphics about that. And one is going to be the current snow cover across the United States. And something that we did not see during December and most of January was this plains/upper Midwest snowfall, right? They were seeing below normal totals out across the heartland. And what that did is it really reduced the mechanisms in order to get that Arctic air down here into the southeast, because we really need that snowpack to be able to refrigerate the air for it to make it all the way to the Gulf Coast, all the way to the southeast. So we have a decent snowpack across the country right now, as evident by the map. So this is going to help any Arctic air mass that is coming our way to easily slide on down. And I don't see this changing throughout February. Now, we do have Groundhog Day, which is on Monday. And when Punxsutawney Phil sees his shadow, there is 6 more weeks of winter. And if he is forecasting 6 more weeks of winter, I agree with him. Now, you're looking at the NOAA forecast through the rest of the month and into the first several days of February. And the red indicates above average temperatures and the blue indicates below average temperatures. And you can split the nation in half almost, right around the Mississippi River. East of the Mississippi River, you're talking about temperatures that are going to be below average through at least the first half of February. And to the west, you're going to talk about above average temperatures However, we are nowhere close to the above average category. So it looks like, at early glance, that winter is nowhere near done. So yes, it is very possible that we could see additional storm systems. In fact, there are some long-range models that are showing that this active weather will continue. Now, I can't guarantee that that everyone will see snow again, but just the fact that we have moisture around and just the fact that it is unsettled, that obviously raises a red flag because we are still in winter. February usually finishes out as the second coldest month of the winter season, winter starting on December 1st and ending on February 28th during the non-leap years.
Okay, well, we'll have to keep an eye on that, and if we do have more winter weather coming our way, we will cover it for you right here on SCE TV.
Absolutely, and I want to continue our tour across South Carolina on the traffic cameras right now, and we are going to go near Camden and check out Interstate 20, and this is actually surprising because we were talking east of Columbia, and there is snow on the ground, and it's starting to accumulate, and it will continue. And if you want to do this at home, by the way, I do have a special website you can go to. It's scetv.org. If you go to scetv.org, and you click on the weather section in the north bar, if you will see our recent video updates. And I believe that was just us talking there. And if you scroll down, you can go through these cameras yourself. Right now, there's a live camera of Columbia, South Carolina. In fact, let's go to Columbia because there has been so much interest in the capital. 27 degrees, cloudy with occasional snow cover. And you can do a bunch of different interactive tools here and go to the web camera and check it out. And that is what Columbia looks like right now. So yes, it looks like it's gone downhill even during our little mini weather update here.
I can't tell if that's fluffy snow or not, but it seems like we have some snow.
Yes, it's definitely coming down. And that's not the only camera. If we go back to the main weather page, there are cameras from Charleston and Greenville and Rock Hill. I want to go to the Rock Hill one because that's one of the areas that computer models have focused on, tremendously during the past couple of days in terms of indicating heavy snowfall. And we'll click on the camera link, and boy, look, it's a winter wonderland for sure there. It may not look like that everywhere across South Carolina, but it is snowing heavily. There is a ground cover, and we are, I would venture to say, probably closing in on the 3-inch mark there in the Rock Hill area. On our way to 6, maybe 7. We will have to monitor that as we go through the rest of the afternoon.
I get cold just looking at that picture.
That is true. That is true. And it's not going to get any better anytime soon. We have to wait until at least midweek before we get back to nearly seasonable, but even then, it's still below average.
Indeed.
Any other questions coming in?
I think that's it for now.
Very good. Well, thanks for joining us for this latest webcast. We will be back later on this afternoon and this evening for additional updates and to get you through this winter weather.